Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. I'd like to thank, obviously, the panelists and the witnesses for their courage, frankly, because I'm glad today to present a new report, the persecution of ex-Muslim Christians in France and in Europe. And many of the witnesses that I have interviewed were afraid. They didn't show their faces. And it's really to be brave to dare showing your face when you experience the kind of threats they do. I came with a video. I'll briefly introduce it. It's in French, but it's subtitled in English. It summarizes some testimonies that I collected. I collected many more, and with these I wrote this report that I'll try to present you briefly. And then again, I brought some reports so you can take them with you. Please do take one so that I don't have to bring it back to France. So I'll leave the floor to them. Well, I hope it gave you a fair idea of the entire issue. I'd just like to add a few comments to understand really why. How is that possible? You were held out this map today. It's in the room, countries where apostasy and blasphemy laws in Islam are applied. Of course, in Europe, Sharia does not legally apply, but these laws are a reflection of the Quran, the Sharia, the Hadiths. It's blasphemy is forbidden because within the Islamic faith. And so in Europe, the law does not enforce Sharia, but people take it and try to apply it on their own. And so as soon as a city is constituted with an important population of Muslims, they tend to impose Sharia. And we see it, I would say, nowadays, in many suburbs of the main cities in Western Europe, you have a soft application of Sharia law. That's the first thing. So it's a threat, and it's a growing threat. And I think it's important to address it this way and try to understand who's targeted. The first thing is to evaluate the number of people that are enduring this. I had real difficulties to establish a number. How many converts are there out there? How many people leave Islam for any other religion, for no religion? It's very difficult. According to the French Catholic Church, between 300 and 400 people ask for baptism with a Muslim background. For Protestant churches, I was unable to find a figure because they are divided, and so none of them has a file with in which they compile the information. But I would estimate, according to the testimonies that I have, that there are at least or about 30,000 converts from Islam in France, and so it's a significant population that endures a specific type of persecution. So I tried to summarize and range the kind of persecution that they endure on the basis of the witnesses. And I think it's important that I just read it out loud because it's really a stage and like a step if the convert does not move away. Of course, in some cases, in France and in the UK, in some cases, really in a tiny portion of cases, the conversion is okay. But in almost, I would say, 99% of the cases, you have first contempt and verbal aggression towards the convert when announcing the conversion from the family. And then step two, he or she receives threats, act of intimidation or a harassment in order to persuade the convert to return to Islam. And this is occurring within the family or within the community. the suburb, the area, or on social networks. Then the next step is the rejection of the convert by his family. Then the physical, either an expulsion of the home, or the convert has literally to leave away, to go to another city. Then it becomes more rare, but it's very common that the convert receives threats on his physical integrity, destruction of the convert's property, ransacking of their place of living, and efforts to have them lose their jobs. I had many witnesses who experienced that the father would burn all the clothes and all his stuff at home. The father who would come on the job at the office of the convert to mess up with him and to have to make a mess. For girls, there are specific problems, and the first one is real sequestration until they return to Islam. I had direct witnesses of who experienced that the girl announces that she's leaving Islam, and she's kept at home until she comes back to Islam. She has like a period of time, a week to change her mind. And then it's more rare, but it's again common to have that the convert experiences physical violence, from spitting to beating to lynching in public with or without a knife. For girls, I also had witnesses who told me that there were forced marriages. Typically, in France, we have many people coming from North Africa. And so if a girl announces or it is revealed that she is a converted, she's sent back to Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia to marry a pious Muslim, so to say, and to have her back on track according to the family. And in some rare but it exists cases, murder or assassination. Saïd Oudjibou, whom you've heard speaking just a moment ago, had a couple of examples. And again, there's such a pressure that it's even difficult to talk about it. I started with France, but then I was able to reach out in other countries, and so in Belgium, in Austria, and in the UK, and it's more or less the same situation. As soon as there is a significant Muslim community in a city, they do persecute those living Islam. I'll finish with the how to help and how to act against this. There are two things mostly. First, the church response. You know, converts leave Islam, and Islam is more than just a religion. It's a family, it's a community. It's the ties are important. And what I was told by converts is that they it's difficult to leave Islam because they lose everything. They lose not only their faith, but their family, their job sometimes, their place of living, their friends. It's like a cutoff. And if they join a church, they hope to find some support, but it's not always the case. And in a significant number of cases, converts actually say that it was terrible because they were not understood, they were even rejected or questioned, or if they were to criticize Islam in front of Christians, some would reply by telling them that they are defaming this religion, this beautiful religion, that they shouldn't be so harsh against Islam. So this not to offend policy is very difficult for converts because they experienced Islam and the persecution that comes with it when you live it. And then there's the state response. I think there are two things that are really important and an easy message to spread. It's that when someone considers to leave Islam, he has to be cautious. he shouldn't reveal it to his family or to his friends or to anyone before he's certain that he wants to leave Islam and that he has a plan to effectively leave and to be able to save himself in case of the family reacts badly. And for girls, it may be a social shelter, a place where to sleep. This actually was the case for the Austrian Sabatina James, who wrote a book about her persecution. She revealed one day that she was no longer a Muslim, and her mother threw her out of the house, and so she could go to a social house to live for a couple of weeks. And then there is the law. So in France, it's forbidden to prevent someone to practice his religion. The law was reinforced recently, and in principle it should be easy to apply, but it's not, because the convert, when he leaves Islam, has all his family, all his community against him. And so if he launches prosecution, or if he starts to make accusations against his family or his community, it's difficult to prove, to bring evidence to the police, and it starts a fight with the family, and it's his or her word against the family word, and so it's difficult to enact any prosecution. I'll stop here and leave the floor to the witnesses too. Thank you for your attention.